Reasons to live: tidy, simple, and creative. Tidy is keeping your house organized. Do you have miscellaneous papers everywhere? Do you have stacks of magazines under your bed? Do you have boxes of mismatched shoes in your closet that are sky high, and some of those shoes are from the 80s and no longer fit? What about your dressers? Are they neatly folded or are they scrambled? What about your furniture? Do you have a bunch of miscellaneous items underneath your couch or underneath your dressers? Look at your corners. Are they dusty? Is there overall this feeling that stuff is just random? It has no meaning. It has no pronounced impact. That's what tidy is. Tidy is creating your own sanctuary. Okay, that is your home. It is a place like when we go into a temple. It is this place of reverence, of respect for ourselves and respect for the temple. So when our home is something like going into a temple where it is tidy, it is clean, it is spacious, it is open, that gives us this respect for ourselves. We always feel this deep respect whenever we walk into like a Ganesh temple. It helps us to, or reminds us to bring joy into our life, okay? Even in the most subtle ways, such as just organizing our dresser or getting rid of those 80s pants that no longer fit us. And then when we think of living simple, so living simple is living in a home that's mobile. And I'm talking not about we're all living in like those trailer homes or those RV homes. Mobile meaning your house is so tidy, is so organized, it's so minimal that you can, let's say, if you want to move to a different state, or if you want to move just down the street, you're mobile. Meaning you don't have so much stuff where it weighs you down. Okay, because when we think of our home, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of us, how open or how enclosed we are. So if we have a lot of mobility in our house, meaning we are constantly clearing out, eliminating the things that we don't need, we're constantly reorganizing, remodeling our home so that it's always fresh. That's mobility. It's creating freshness. And freshness is good health, and that goes on in our body. So we are always eliminating the excess, the stuff that is outdated, the stuff that has no use. It's just kind of hand-me-down, and it needs to be it needs to be thrown out so that we can create this freshness of circulation, which is inviting in, we could say, new objects, or I like to say new totems. Even like a furniture can be like a totem. It can be something that brings us this good luck or good fortune. That's kind of what totem is. It's bringing objects into your house that creates this ambience of blessing, of gratitude, of miracle, of being at the right place at the right time, such as having like a painting, as you can see behind me. Or you can see the Shiva, okay? It is like a totem of blessing. Even we can bless our couch to give us good blessing. So let's say we are a writer and we write on our couch. We can give thanks to our couch and give a blessing that our couch may help us to come up with good ideas for our writing. Okay, the same thing as our bed. It's like giving thanks and giving protection and giving a place where we can feel a restorative sleep. Okay, so this is kind of what we should be having in our home when it comes to being simple. We're mobile in the senses we're constantly eliminating what we don't need to bring in freshness, a freshness of circulation. Okay, so that we're never in a house that's getting too weighted down. So when we get too weighted down, it just simply means that there's just things that are maybe we're not even aware of, but the more we get sensitive and aware of our own sort of energy, okay, our own energy field, the more we'll understand the subtlest change of even an object creates a new potential within your home and within your energy field, because your home and your energy field are very much linked. So for example, I like to reorganize my home every so often, just move certain things around into different corners and move it to what resonates with me, okay? Kind of just intuitively, I feel guided to place this plant in this corner, okay? To just move some energy around, and instantly I feel my energy field is open to new potentials. So that gets into to be creative. So when we have a tidy and a simple house, it creates this freshness of circulation. It creates new potential, okay, in your home, your sanctuary, as well as in your energy field. When you really eliminate everything that's just kind of weighing down on the energy field, like settling. So all of those objects, I always see it like a creek. When you're in a creek, basically the water and the particles in the water, or the bacteria, settled. Okay, and when the bacteria settles, it kind of clumps together and creates this, I like to say, omega bacteria. We know omega bacteria, and usually you don't want to kind of be ingesting any of that, because a lot of times that cumulative bacteria can be very unhealthy for the body. Okay, so that's what happens when things just sit there and they just settle there for long periods of time, such as your old yoga pants from back in the 70s, okay, and it doesn't bring you joy, it doesn't bring you a sense of velocity or creative discovery or creative propulsion, then it's like that creek where all of these particles are just sitting there. They kind of just flock together. It's kind of like dust. The dust, it kind of just sits there and it kind of just flocks together, and then it flocks together, and then it builds and it builds. And the natural creative expression of ourselves is very much like a river, or like a stream, or like a waterfall, where there's velocity of movement, where we're never just kind of settling. We're always taking new shapes, we're always taking new forms, because the velocity of the river flow is supporting us to bend around stone. Okay, we come across stone is to bend with the sharp curve of the river bend, to rise with the mountain. A river is being pushed up the mountain, and to fall off the waterfall. So that's mobility. So it's not necessarily we're moving or living in an RV or a trailer. It just simply means that we have this flow within our house, like a river. It's going up the mountain, going through the valley, off the waterfall, over the bend, through the rocks or through the dam. Okay, so that's kind of what we should see as objects. So when I move objects around, it is as though I'm creating a river in my house, where this plant that was in this corner is now in this corner, creating connection between that corner and this corner. Okay, kind of like a river connecting this part of the land to that other part of the land, through the river extending out and moving through. So when we think of that river, throughout history, river has represented a good, like the water bearing is represented fortune, fruition. We think of fruition. We think of land of fruition, meaning it's fertile land. So the settling of the creek is not very fertile land. So we need fertile land to be creative. So now with our home, to be creative is to your temple, your sanctuary, design it as your best self, okay? So in your best self, we think of it as something that is like, we have to have something so massive, okay? And people have that, but there is nothing extraordinary about these homes. I just see a bunch of I see energy that's just kind of heavy. Okay, it's very heavy in these kinds of big homes, but there's nothing extraordinary. There's nothing creative. There's nothing soulful, or we could say really beautiful. Okay, so make your house is like your best self. So when you come to your home, when you're out there in the world, we say that that part of ourselves, that's the scholar, the right part of ourselves that's out there and putting our foot in things and making things happen. When we come home, it should be very much a connecting with our heart, the left side of our body. Okay, it should be connecting with that artist, that poet, that creative person. So we always have this outward expression, this scholar, okay, this person that puts our foot in, we can hold it, we trust ourselves, we may not trust the world, but we trust ourselves to make the right decisions and to follow through and to apply ourselves appropriately, respectfully. But when we don't have a home, it's like we don't have the care or the nurture to really develop ourselves in a very balanced way. It's like, think of your home as your early childhood development, or you as a child in your childhood. So if your home, you could say it's like that motherly, nurturing part of your life. If it's just messy and you just has all this outdated stuff, it's just dusty, everything, there's meaningless papers just randomly around, you don't even know what it's for, that just creates this experience of nurture and care that is almost like neglectful. It's like we are neglectful to ourselves when we don't really give our nurture and care to our home, in knowing that our home is that motherly presence for us, that motherly ambience. That's a place where we can feel like that Cancer energy. Think of the zodiac Cancer, where we can unravel our scholarly ego, that ego self, and we can just be subtle, we can be complete, we can be whole, we can be what is natural for us to be. We can be artistic and poetic, we can be dreamy, we can be silly, we can be goofy. But if we don't have that home, we'll never discover what is our most natural native rhythm. That we discover our most natural native rhythm in that home environment, like that nurture and care of what is most authentic for us. But if our home environment is just this mess and everything's just a hand-me-down, outdated and dusty and just miscellaneous, and it's just like a settled creek where just bacteria is just clumping together and it feels really heavy on us, we can sense if it's heavy on us because it really just pulls us down. If your home environment is like pulling you down, it's a damper, that's an indication that it's pulling on your energy field. And usually it's reflecting that you have something in your energy field that is getting kind of dull, or getting kind of dampered, or getting kind of stagnant. So stagnation and that creek a lot of times can cause what we call depression. So I see depression a lot of times as that creek we said, where there's no movement of water moving through that creek. So it's kind of slowly kind of drying up, and it's slowly you can see like the edges of the creek is kind of almost see like wilting, it's just kind of like wilting sort of thing. It gives that a kind of vibe. And then the bacteria is just kind of clumping together. That can create like a depression, we know, is stagnancy as well. So really all we need to do is just like revamp it, like give some freshness to ourselves, some freshness to our organs. Okay, and a part of that freshness through tidying, being simple, and then being creative is we can, in our home, it should be a place where we can explore ourselves, where we can discover ourselves, where we can get into a rhythm of what is natural for us to be and what is not natural, because it dampers us. Okay? Now, this is the place that really will set our day when we're out there and we're our scholarly self. Okay, that's the masculine part of ourselves where we're in it. We gotta hold it. We gotta hold our jobs. We gotta, hold our bills. That's kind of that masculine. We gotta hold things together. Gotta keep things together. You gotta, hold our place in life. But if we don't have that heart within our lives that is joyful, then our whole day is just going to be set up in a way where we're just basically carrying the damper mood within our house into our life, are out there in the work and in the friends and just in that kind of life. Okay? But whenever we have, like they say, a happy home is this happy life. So the reason overall we should be tidy and simple and creative, like in our home, it should be just this art gallery. I like to say an art gallery because that represents the ma. The ma is the mother, and that's being very creative, very prolific, very abundant, very fertile. Something to go into and get inspired by, okay? To keep your energy always in a state of new potential, never in a state of I'm settling, my river stops flowing. It should be like I'm flowing in this bend, I'm flowing up this valley, up this mountain, I'm flowing in this valley, I'm off this waterfall, I'm over, this beautiful extension, elongation of your presence. So when we have this, it's our glow, okay? It's our glow that is our ability to make life happen for us. So a lot of times, make life happen for us, we're doing it through basically all of this stuff we hold to us. Okay, it's like that American dream, you hold all this stuff to you. But what it does is a lot of times it clogs your energy field. So you're so worried, this stuff and developing this false sense of scholarly self, which is that masculine outward self, through basically stuffing your energy field with all of these possessions that do not bring pizzazz or do not bring a sense of jazz or soulful expression into yourself, but just a damper. Okay, it's a damper to obtain these things, and it's a damper to maintain these things, and it's a damper because it's fun temporarily, but it doesn't really bring this true sense of joy, but this feeling of needing to get approval or a feeling of needing to have these things to be accepted. So it creates this deep judgment, like I'm not accepted because I have all of these things around me. And then we get into like the stress of trying to obtain and maintain and to create our status based on this false sense of joy with ourselves, because it's not very joyful, because it's a damper. It's a damper because it locks us in. It locks us into this personality. It locks us into this kind of character, like you're this kind of person. And that's not mobility, to lock ourselves into these possessions that lock us into this personality and this character that may or may not be what is natural for us to be. It may just be us an attempt at trying to have the world respond to us. So we do these things because we're wanting the world to respond to us, okay? Because response from the world is evidence that our magnetism has impact, and that impact is creating vibrations and ripples, and those ripples are basically our way of receiving these opportunities and these relationships and these synchronicities and all of that. But ultimately, the blockages we have in actually kind of grabbing that magnetic effect that some people have and some people want to have, and then some people are striving to have, but it's kind of not really working. It's through the glow. So what is the glow? The glow is directly related to your organs and your happiness of your organs. So if your organs are not very happy, I like to say the disease of mankind is the gut. That's the disease. Our second brain is our organs. Our organs are almost becoming like little toxic sponges kind of thing. Okay? And then we lose that glow, that facial glow, that mental radiant projection. We lose that when our gut is just kind of this sponge of all of our, these toxins. So why do we need that glow, behind our eyes, which is direct connect to the liver? So people who have this kind of weird thing in their eye, it could be like they have some liver thing going on, okay? It could also be elimination, they have this kind of damper within their face. It kind of seems kind of, maybe drain or toxin kind of going on underneath the eyes. It's because the kidneys is not eliminating properly what needs to be gone out of the system for it to replenish and restore itself into a more fresher state. So all of these things, we never look at our magnetism or ability to make life happen for us as an inward thing. We always think of it as just stuffing our space with things to show our scholarly self, but it's not really believable, because this moving forward into this Aquarian age it is all about the glow of good health, because the glow of good health is, let's be honest, it's gonna show your work ethic. It's gonna, people are gonna see it's gonna, good health shows your work ethic. So if you're got that thing behind your eyes where your liver is really like damaged by all of whatever you're doing to yourself, it's gonna be evident. They're gonna see, oh, you probably don't have a good work ethic, okay? So, or if you have this this glow, people are gonna be like, oh, you definitely are a creative person, or you're definitely a person that can be innovative and solve problems, okay? Because when we're in our glow, like the glow of the organs, through the eyes and the cheeks is all connected to the organs. Even the acne is connected to the organs, okay? It's like direct connection going on. And it's like you can look at your face and look at your organs on top of your face and kind of see like what is going on with your organs based on kind of the luminosity or the lack thereof in your face, okay? When the eyes and the cheeks and the thing underneath the eyes, we call it the shadow underneath the eyes, okay? So this is the Aquarian age. The glow of good health is how we magnetize, okay, the presence we want to have in life. So that the presence we want to have in life is we want to be creators. We're also destroyers, okay? So we can do that kind of way. But right now there's an emphasis, especially in the Aquarian age, of being creators. We're being pushed and pressured to be creators because we need freshness of lifestyle, freshness of attitude, freshness of mood to propel us in towards a path that is very sovereign, that's very self-responsible, and that is a humanitarian. That's the Aquarian age, okay? It's being very self-responsible. It's being very sovereign, and it's being a humanitarian. So your good health, it really shows like what you're capable of and what you're not. So the more of the lack of health you have, or the lack of glow you have, it really shows all of us have the same energy. We all have the same kind of level of energy. It's just the energy is going somewhere, and a lot of times we have no idea where our energy is going towards. That's why we're wondering, like, why I'm just feeling like I'm welting, or this creek that I'm in is just drying up, and it's all this bacteria is just kind of sluggishly clumping together and sitting in my body. It's because of the lack of recognition, okay, that it's this inward amplification that we need to have in order to really kind of nip it in the bud. Things that we do that just waste like 30% of our energy just in that one little mood, that hour of just being so moody and just F this and F that, lose 30%. And then we lose another 20% when we are just in our own self demise kind of thing. Okay, so when we become very self-responsible, very sovereign, and very much a humanitarian with ourself, very much a participant in our own health, instead of just like just totally out of our body kind of thing, going through this robotic zombie-like day where we just are totally swept up into all kinds of negativity and all kinds of things. It's just all everywhere around us. We are never going to strengthen or amplify our energy field, our uninflicted, resourceful, prolific, directed, commanded, meditative energy. So that's when we talk about the inward. Everything is moving into an inward focus instead of just this outward, because what we're seeing in this outward realm is we're seeing a lot of people who are still doing what, we've always done for long centuries, but it's just not working. You can't just keep it pushing, just keep it pushing, just keep it pushing. Now I'm 80, I'm walking to McDonald's, but I'm walking like a Humpty Dumpty with my back all like this because I totally just neglected myself my whole life. The Aquarian age is about getting real, and it's about integrity and dignity being restored within the body and within the organs. So when we talk about integrity and dignity, we talk about basically anything that we've been doing that's been creating this arrhythmia, it's coming up. So we have a lot of arrhythmia in our body, and that's why it's causing all we call these diseases, okay? Because it's the Aquarian age of basically showing the whole generation, okay, the integrity and dignity of what we need to bring into our inner life to set ourselves on a new path. That is a path of the Aquarian age, being a creator, okay? The glow of good health, the glow of sovereignty, of self-responsibility, of the humanitarian, okay? So right now we're having this kind of it's almost like we're being like sandpaper. It's like the technology age is like rubbing against us like sandpaper, and we're kind of irritated by the Aquarian age, the technology age. We're irritable. We are kind of just unsettled. We're uncomfortable. All of our fear is kind of coming up because that sandpaper is rubbing against us, and the clock is ticking. What we're doing, if we do not kind of get real with ourselves, there's going to be a point where it's going to come to a head and we're going to be pushed, or literally the Aquarian age is going to place something in our life that gets us to obey, okay? Gets us to no choice. You got to get on this Aquarian age path. So either that may be total stagnancy, it could be total rut, it could be total destruction of yourself. That all of that is showing that whatever that you've been doing or have been doing for a long time, you've been resistant. It's been a damper, it's been not working, but you've been pushing it, almost like forcing it to work. That's not going to work anymore. That may have worked, let's say, a couple centuries ago, but it's not going to work. because if it's not focused on integrity and dignity, then it's not going to be supported. Okay, it's not going to be supported. So we talk about the Aquarian age, we talk about transparency as well. So transparency in policy, transparency in lifestyle, transparency in mental, your mental health. It's going to be transparency in your work ethic, transparency in your relationship. Everything is becoming transparent. So everybody's kind of like, oh my God, I can feel like people can see right through me and my lifestyle and my relationship and my home environment, because the Aquarian age is getting really real with us, okay, really real, and telling us you cannot live self-oppressed, self-denial, self-neglect, and self-judgment or self-hatred anymore. It's like, oh, I'm fed up, can't do this anymore. So everything's becoming transparent. Even other people, you can see right through directly to their whatever is self-oppressed or self-denial or self-neglect. You can see right to it. And that's really what's going to be what we call the leaders. There's, always leaders of particular ages. And the leaders are going to be the ones who are glowing with good health and the well-roundedness. Because when we think about a leader, we think of leadership. And a leadership is like a guide. It's like a teacher. It's like a resource. It's helpful. It is moving us into the next generation of what we need to do on this planet to keep it stable, to keep it consistent, to keep it, joyful. So that leadership is going to be focused on bringing good health to the well-roundedness. Okay, the well-roundedness. Because right now, what we see and all of this kind of, even this health stuff, is that the leadership of this old kind of model, where the leadership is very much about kind of supporting, being self-oppressed, self-denial, self-neglect, kind of self-judgment, self-hatred, that kind of old leadership is not working. And we're seeing it directly in the generation of what we call mental illness, or we call it just total stagnation. We could say this damper in the face, this no glow kind of thing we have going on. But even with no glow, there are people that are so hungry, and they think that they're hungry for what we call like attention. They're just hungry for their magnetism. They're searching, because magnetism is like you're searching for energy, you're hunting for energy, but you're hunting for your own uninflicted, resourceful, clear, clean, unattached energy. Because when you have it within yourself, that is enough. It's not so much I have to have all this stuff crammed up in my home and crammed up into my life. Because when you get into that good health and the well-roundedness, the lifestyle, the home environment, the food, what you're consuming, what you're drinking, your relationships, and all of that, that is the magnetism that we are all wanting, or all in the hunt for. Because that magnetism in the Aquarian age is what's going to really decide a person who is abundant and a person who is not. So we think of abundance in the old kind of thing as like just kind of, you just take all this stuff, you hoard it in your little, your little hidden corner, in this, little hidden corner in your big house. But that's not going to work, because the game has changed. Aquarian age we've already been through that, particularly in the Western culture, about how many possessions can you kind of accumulate and hoard in your little your little corner and all the gold and stuff. It's how much good health and the well-roundedness can you obtain and maintain that's really going to decide like who, you know, is in this position of abundance and who is not. Because the abundance for the Aquarian age, like I said, it is the abundance of resources. And resources for the Aquarian age is many things. Okay, richness in the Aquarian age is many, many things. And really what is the center of this, okay, it's the center of this richness, is our magnetism. It's our integrity and dignity in that, okay, ourselves in that. That's really going to be able to receive or to give what actually has influence. So all these other things, it's kind of like fading out. These ways about ourselves of, you know, being kind of like, you know, dark and mysterious, like the Piscean age, you know, we're all kind of hiding something and it's kind of weighing on us, that kind of thing. That's the Aquarian age. Our influence over the Aquarian age, like I said, the focus is on humanitarianism, being self-responsible, being sovereign. So when we think of that, what would have the most influence over that kind of a model? It would be somebody who has a good integrity and who has a good dignity. Because humanitarianism is implying of extending good health to the community, about listening to the community, learning about the community, providing a structure or resources to the community so that they can basically, you know, take self-responsibility for themselves and develop themselves based on that. And when we think of being sovereign, we think of non-judgment, okay? We think of being clear about what is authentic and what is helpful and what brings joy and what does not. And understanding that the joy in the Aquarian age, just like the joy, it is a community. So anything about you know, you just want to be up in your little corner hoarding, all of that's going to come to all of that is going to be, you know, destruction is going to go on, because we can't do that anymore. So I know I went off into a little spin, you know, with the, you know, tidy, simple, and being creative, and getting into a deeper reason. Like, there's always depth and layers. There's height, there's depth, there's rotation. That's kind of the way we are, really. We have such depth, we have such exploration, we have such discovery. It's like you're opening one door, and then there's another door, and then there's many doors, and you're just like, oh, there's so many. It's like this library, you're just amazed. You're going down one hallway, and then there's this alley, and it's, whoa, look at all that information, and look at all that. So it's a blessing, okay? So the Aquarian age, it's about cleaning out house. So we're seeing a lot of things in the Aquarian age is really preparing us, or propelling us into the model of what the Aquarian age represents. So we're not there quite yet, and we're very shaky. The planet's shaky. Even a lot of, you know, this whole world economy for a lot of places is shaky. Health is very shaky. Mental health is very shaky. We could say religions are getting kind of shaky, because the shaky is just simply meaning all of this stuff that's kind of been hidden, you know, hidden in the subconscious and that kind of thing. It's shaking because we're rattling out all of that stuff that's been hidden, but is very untruthful, or it could be something that doesn't bring us a sense of fluidity or a sense of new potential. It just brings us more of a damper, more of just stagnation, on this planet. So anything that has to do with stagnation of attitude, it could be religious influence, it could be economic structure, it could be political structure, it could be social structure, cultural structure, I mean, you name it. Anything that has stagnancy is saying that there's something that is been oppressed or neglected or denied, and that's not going to work. So it's coming up. Transparency is making it come up, but the more that we hold on to it, the more that we resist it, the more that we're going to find ourselves shaking even more to a total like shake where it's just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore is simply saying that you have something you're holding on to. There's something that you're denying yourself, something you're neglecting about yourself. Denial is like you're just pretending, keep it moving, I'm just going to kind of fake it till I make it and lose all my health in the meantime. And then the judgment as well as the oppression, like literally we're taught to oppress ourselves creatively, intellectually, intuitively by structures, could be mental structures that we've had for a long time that since the ages of slavery and basically whole communities and ethnic groups being oppressed, that for safety reasons, okay, we have to be oppressed. But now we're kind of, we're rinsing that kind of thing that we all do to ourselves. So when we think about the Aquarian age and those people who are going to be the leaders and are going to be, a lot of times they're kind of the head of the trend, which we're seeing, but they're really paving way because this old direction, people are finding that they're like hitting a wall. Okay, and that's where they're shaking. They're like, I'm hitting a wall, like, where am I gonna get, where am I gonna get more attention? I need that for my sense of scholarly identity. And it's like, all of that is the Aquarian age simply saying that you got to get real with the pathway. It's like there's a path, there's a pathway that we're almost being really called to ask, almost required to ask, to walk down, and that is sovereignty. Okay, so sovereignty of everything you think, you feel is your way to life or what you should be doing based on everything before you. Sovereignty is you're not looking to the past. Okay, you're not looking to really what is here, or you're looking to the future. You're looking to what is going to give you the most sense of liberation in this life, in this embodiment. Because the more liberation you kind of have in yourself, the more self-responsible you are. The more self-responsible you are, the more you can handle, being a human, and not only handle being a human, but providing humanness or human joy or human potential to life. So, and if that's not your focus, if it's on the Piscean way of just hoarding all of your gold in this little temple, well then you're going to be shocked, all of that gold somehow is just, it's gone. Because everything that we are being asked or we're being pressured to become is not kings or queens of what we think of the Piscean age. It's not what we're being pressured into becoming. And a lot of people think that's still the game. It's not the game. Okay, whatever you can think of, you can be the king or the queen. That's not the game. Because the kingship and queenship in the Piscean age was very much about withholding resources, withholding knowledge, withholding religious influence, withholding wisdom. Okay, that's not what the Aquarian age is about, withholding. It is very much about sharing. Because the Aquarian age is wanting to even out this kind of this even out this polarized way of viewing ourselves. So when we think as polarized is you like a caste system in India. You are this, you're that, you're that. So it creates this barrier. And the Aquarian age, in order for us to really share share, is we have to really clear those barriers that are saying you're this, you're that, like that caste system. And we're getting into the Aquarian age is opening up our minds and showing us you're this and you're that. You're this and you're that. So it's showing us that, and the well-roundedness of our journey through life, that we really are, the journey implies that, like the river, we're moving through many, many forms. We're these straight lines, there were these curvy lines. And in the past with the kingship, it put such an emphasis on the straight line is the best line, the curved line is lesser. But as we know today, that doesn't make sense. Okay? It doesn't make sense when looking at these kinds of things, because they both are on the same journey, just in different kind of points in their journey. So with that kind of understanding, it's bringing us deeper into our joy for wanting to connect. So we know that there's this deep feeling of disconnect right now because of the technology age, which this may go on for a little bit longer on this Aquarian age, this technology age, but eventually we're gonna find our kind of balance with the technology age. But right now I feel with the generation is we still have so much that we feel we need to hide. So we're shaking because we have all of this self-oppression coming up, this self-neglect, self-denial, self-hatred, self-judgment that's coming up. And it's basically, we're kind of like, what is going on? It's just like, I don't want to, I don't want this. So it's causing these feelings of being overwhelmed, or these feelings of self-sabotage, these feelings of not being good enough or not being up to part. And all of that is just simply, we are wanting to look at what we basically didn't look at for many generations. You can say that, I like to say, the basement of our lives, so that we can really remodel. And those who remodel are we could say, like, ahead of the trend. Okay? They're the one, because they have this open potential. It's very hard to have an open potential when we're still ruled by this almost king-queen model that you're this, you're that, oh, you're self-oppressed, you're self-denial, you're self-neglect, you're self-hatred, self-judgment, oh, look how much potential you have. It's like, that's not the Aquarian age, but a lot of us are still governed by that. Literally, we're governed. In our epigenetics, it's governing that kind of, those principles of the, how our life. It's like, your potential is this. Once you kind of zap out, once you kind of put in self-oppression, self-denial, self-neglect, self-hatred, self-judgment, once you put all that into the system, your potential is, it's a tiny birth canal. It's a very tiny birth canal. So what happens when we have all this stuff come up, and the self-sabotage can be for a lot of people, is when you feel very alone, you feel like maybe not good enough because, these things are coming up, for you to kind of just face it and, literally face it, say to it, okay, I understand this comes from generations of feeling this way, behaving this way, responding this way, but thank you, I'm ready to redefine generations of behavior, of feeling, of action through my practice, through my, applying, and through stepping up, taking self-responsibility that has been gone for many generations probably. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we self-sabotage ourselves. It's kind of like those things that that model of doing that to ourselves, like I mentioned. It comes up in the way we self-sabotage our potential by accumulating all of this stuff. You can even see it even in there's certain even celebrities that have this, where they didn't really they had all of these this model that brought them, you could say, this abundance, but now the abundance is like it's stagnant. Maybe it's draining, it's leaking, all of that kinds of thing. Their health is leaking, their relationships are leaking, all of friends is leaking, is because that's a self-sabotage. Okay, that can be self-sabotage. Deep. Whatever that we were pushing that really was not bringing us joy, but we kept pushing, it led to these things. So when we think of how to clear out house, how to go into the basement, and how to not self-sabotage or self-neglect, and leading to like emotional like rut or emotional like unhappiness and mental fog and all that kind of stuff, is really making it clear within yourself that your inner glow is your outer flame. So when we think of a flame, we think of a person who is dynamic and creative and flexible, a person who has the energy to do what they need to do. So think of it as your inner glow with your organs becomes your outer flame. So when we always think of flame, we think of a person who has it's like the pranayam, it's just this life force, but the flame, it's not like a force fire, it's a flame like in a candle, but it's lit, and it has this continuity because it keeps going. It's subtly, easefully, gracefully, like just keep going. Like when you watch a candle, it's majestic. Okay, so that's what we think of our inner glow with our organs as our outer flame, our lit candle. And that lit candle is, when directed, you could say, by the elements of the air and the cosmos, as well as the water and this earth, through collaboration with these things, it brings us into the energy required for us to meet, greet, and become the new potential. So we can meet, but it's that flame, that inward glow leading to that flame that really shows that we are that new potential, that we are becoming that new potential. And that's kind of what everything kind of going on. A lot of people's candles are not lit. So when I think about the flame being lit, it's not some sort of, esoteric. It's very practical. It's saying their energy is on. So energy is not zombie energy. That's not on energy. Energy is on. Meaning your energy field is consolidated. Your energy field is magnetic. Okay, through that's when we talk about your flame is lit. We're drawn to that flame. In the darkness of the cave, we're drawn to that light. It's consistent because it's consolidated. It's bright because it has energy that is renewed and constantly being renewed. It's flaming because It's receiving the air and the changeability of the cosmos and kind of rippling through the information that's being brought all around. And it's dynamic in the way it's colorations, from the gas stove blue to the yellow, the solar yellow, dynamic, representing its mastery through the many parts of the self that make a person very energetically solid. Okay, so I'm just going to leave you guys with this, kind of going in a channeled mode, but hopefully that this resonates with you, and hopefully that this sparks your own sort of path of liberation and your own sort of path of being the Aquarian breed, which is sovereignty, self-responsibility, and being a humanitarian. So focus on these things in your daily practice and understand that the good health, the glow of the organs through the face, is the magnetism that is the magnetism of the future. So we talk about getting the job, getting the relationship. We talk about getting the whatever, trying to, get. That is what it is. Because the Aquarian age is going to respond to that. It's not going to respond to any more fools, pretending to be fools and making people as fools. No. It's going to respond directly to how much integrity, dignity are you broadcasting out, and therefore that creates a glow. And the Aquarian age responds to that. Okay, it responds to that. And all else things, the response we get is very much response of what we need to really clean out. So if we're receiving relationships and we're receiving these jobs, it's showing that we have the, self-oppression, self-denial, self-neglect, self-hatred, or self-judgment. We have that's basically locked us down into potential that's this. Okay, through self-sabotage that comes from that, through, playing the fool or making people as fools is another self-sabotage. All of these kinds of things. Not taking responsibility is another thing that we do. I don't take responsibility. I don't take on ownership. Makes your potential this big. No growth comes from no responsibility. Okay, from your emotions, for how you treat people, for how you respond to people. So your potential's like that. So how we really blaze through the flames, you're the heat of the navel, you're just flaming through all of that, is through your liberation. It's your joy, and joy is not all of this I don't know, this stuff, random, miscellaneous, just stuff chilling around that is just there and is a damper on your mood because it's just so expensive and it's so hard to keep up with, and it's just, I don't know, it's just, I'm doing it just to please my friends on Instagram, or I'm just doing it to please, my friends who are just kind of damper on my mood, and they're just kind of dull and, zapping my energy. No. That's not joy. Joy is, it's being tidy, it's being simple, it's being creative. Because in that joy, you get this feeling of freedom, not this feeling of self-sabotage, or you're locked into something that you don't really want, and you're doing stuff that bores the hell out of you, and you're stagnant in something. It gives you this freedom to make new choices. And that's what we need. We need new choices on this planet. We need new choices. So that home is what helps us to get new choices. So if our home is just filled with all of the naked pictures of women on the wall, if you have a porn addiction, that you're gonna make a new choice, your potential is zero. It's zero. Okay, so in implying bringing in your own unique touch, creativity, is you learning what it means to be extraordinary, what it means to be exotic for yourself. And that is a magnetic person. That is a person the whole world responds to, because it's whoa, we're responding to the Pablo Picasso painting because whoa, it's so extraordinary and exotic, and I'm so intrigued, and it's so youthful, and it's so captivating, in a very grounded, in a very practical way, and we create it in the home, and we create in our heart, and when we step out into the world, we feel like when we put our foot in it, when we hold it, that we actually have the joy to keep going with it. Without joy to keep going with it, it's just a damper on you, a damper on other people. Without the joy of getting to know yourself and discovering yourself and resolving yourself and letting go of all of this stuff that locks you into potential that's, 10%. So the new choices is our potential. So leave you guys with this.